So gay.
Yeah, hello everybody.
Hi.
Sorry we missed last week. We had kind of a hectic week for both of us.
Dude, it was insane.
Yeah.
We both kind of had a lot to do.
Yeah, we did.
And it was your birthday.
It was, yeah, that too.
You're 40.
Yeah, I'm 40 years old.
Yeah, we celebrated Jordan's 29th, which was really fun. It was really sweet. On Monday, we went to your parents, and then on Thursday, we did our own thing. Well, you came to my show, which was just... What? It was your birthday. I'm just like... I'm so grateful that you came to my show on your birthday.
Yeah, you had two... It was a fashion show at Sean's school, and he had two items that he had in it, and this really, really cool dress he made, and also really cool vest.
Yes.
Vest and dress.
I'm very, very proud of both of those things, and I'm so excited to wear that vest. I haven't actually worn it ever.
I was about to start talking shit about things, but then I'm like, oh, your classmates listen to this. I probably should not.
No. The classmates who do listen to this didn't have anything in the show.
I just think, I think the model they put your clothes on were not
She
right.
was so sweet, and she was just like, for the one who was wearing the dress, the one who I got to know pretty well, she was so sweet, and she like kept telling everybody how much she loved that dress, and it made me feel so good. I don't know the girl who wore my vest though, although she was styling it weird, and I had to stop her before she went on stage to fix it because she had like the collar rolled down, and it's meant to be up. So I just like fixed it for her before. I was like, could you just wear like this if you're comfortable with that? And she's like, yeah, that's fine. Like, okay. It's my vest. Please wear it the way I want you to.
So speaking of high tension situations,
Oh fuck, dude.
Sean's got a almost poop in yourself.
Dude, yeah, high tension is like the name for my butthole. So I fucking hell, dude. What was it? It was like Tuesday, or I think it was a Tuesday. It was a Tuesday, and so my class schedule is pretty nice in that I have like an hour and a half lunch after my 2:30 class, or my class that ends at 2:30. So I take that hour and a half, I go to the mall, I get Chipotle, and this is like my regular Tuesday. So I go get Chipotle, I order, I scan my thing from the app, I get my rewards points, I'm done. I get my regular bowl with cheese, sour cream, corn, brown rice, black beans, you know, the usual, and a side of chips, and then of course a cup of water. I eat my Chipotle, I finish, I go to my car. It's about 3 minutes after I've finished my Chipotle, and my butthole does this little like it like shrinks, it like clenches, and I'm like, oh fuck, dude. And I can feel it in my stomach. I can feel like it's like burning, dude. Like I feel like a hot flame in my stomach and my intestines and my butthole. And at this point, it's like 3:50 p.m. and I have to start walking to my class. So like I drive back to campus, I like park my car, I like sprint up the stairs. It's like it's 2 stories to get to my class. So I sprint up the stairs 3 steps at a time, dude. And like that's also a really bad idea if you really have to shit. It's like the more you open your legs, the wider your butthole will go.
It's kind of like when you run in the rain and you get more wet if you run than if you just walk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. So I'm like running and I'm like spreading my butthole more and more every time I take 3 steps up the stairs, and I'm thinking I'm gonna shit myself. I really do think I'm gonna shit myself. Luckily, I make it to the door, but there are these 3 ladies standing at the door to get into the building, and they're taking their sweet time, and one of them decides not to hold the door for me, even though I'm passing by and waiting to get through, and she's holding the door for her friends, and so she, like, lets the door close behind her, and I'm like, thanks, and so I swing the door open, I run inside, I see my instructor, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'll be late to class, and so I go into the bathroom, and, like, not even, like, seconds, so, like, I'm standing over the toilet bowl, and like seconds go by, and I'm not even sitting down yet, and like as I'm squatting, it's just leaving my butthole. It was the worst experience. It was the worst poop experience I've had in I don't know how many years.
Yeah, those are always bad, and you're like sweating. Like hopefully,
it was so bad. Sorry if anybody's listening and really hates talking about shit, but
I think it's something we should also talk about because we all have this problem.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, or like we've all at least either shit our pants or have come very, very close to it happening.
That was the closest call I've had in years.
Yeah. So I'll tell mine. I may have told you this before, but for the sake of this, so I was driving to see a concert. I was gonna see M Ward at which theater was that? I don't remember which the theater, but it's in downtown LA. And so I'm about like to halfway there, and this is from when I was living in Orange County, so halfway from Orange County, and then I have to shit. I mean, it's just like this immediate, like it's on deck, and so I get off on the exit and go, and then I immediately realize the exit I got off on is Crenshaw Boulevard, and it is so rough. And you know that thing? So like we pull into this gas station, and already you can just tell when it's like an evolutionary thing where you can already tell you stepped into like a bad neighborhood and you're like, this is a big problem. And there's this black woman in the outside of the gas station. You know, with black ladies, you can't tell if they're angry or they're just talking. Where it's fucking loud. They're just loud and angry, but they can be talking about anything. But you've experienced this before. In fact, I even saw it today. There was a lady at the rental car place cleaning her car, or she was like one of the people cleaning cars. She was this big black lady, and she had her phone on speakerphone, and she was yelling so aggressively to a friend she was talking to that it sounded like when I was getting out of the car that there was some woman going crazy, about to fight somebody. But it was just this woman alone on speakerphone on her phone. And so this lady was borderline having a fit. So I go inside and I ask the guy, where's the bathroom? And he says it's around back. So I go around the back. There are 4 homeless people sleeping back where the bathroom is. I go to lock the bathroom door and it doesn't lock. And then, of course, this bathroom is just a fucking nightmare. And so also the cashier is behind bulletproof glass. So that's a good sign of kind of where we were. So I go to shit and it's just kind of happening. But like I'm also so nervous somebody's going to open the door because the door won't lock. That it's just my body's like, all right, no, this is not happening. So got a little bit, and I'm like, hopefully that's enough. Like you kind of hope that it's the sort of thing. And so we get in the back of the car and we start heading downtown. So we get downtown, hits again. So like I'm probably about 15 minutes from the theater. And then so I go into this government building that's down there. I don't even remember which one that it was. And there's a security guard at the desk, and I say, do you mind if I use the bathroom? And he goes, well, do you work here? And I'm like, no, but please, for the love of God. And then he gave me a key and let me go in and use it. So, and then I thanked him profusely when I left. But it was like so close to having that happen.
Dude.
But yeah, LA is such a tricky thing when you have to shit because number one, no one will let you use the bathroom.
No.
And the other part is when you do find places that can be used, they're so inundated with crazies and homeless people that do drugs in them that they're just the last place you want to take a shit.
Yeah.
So it was pretty horrific.
On our way to go see Gavin Turek, that one time we went up to LA, I thought I was going to shit myself as soon as we arrived.
Oh no.
I don't know if I told you that.
I knew you were not feeling well.
No, and it wasn't that like my stomach was bothering me, but I could feel it at like the bottom of my butt.
Yeah, like it's there, yeah.
It was there. So it was like this is so gross. But like we got there and we parked and I was like, we gotta fucking go. Like I really have to use the restroom. And so we got there. We wait in line to give our IDs to the guy to prove that we're 21. And I think I had just turned 21 like 2 days before. And wait in line. The guys in front of us are like, "Oh, I don't have my ID. What? Can't I get in?" And it's like, "No, sorry, leave." And I'm panicking. I'm like starting to sweat. I'm trying not to show it to you. I don't think I've even told you this, but like we get there, I have to use the restroom. They only have porta potties. It's the worst. It's dark. There's no light.
I have like a sixth sense about people who have to take a shit because like before I found out about probiotics, I thought I had Crohn's disease. Like literally every shit was an emergency. It didn't matter what I ate. It was just like I could be eating totally clean, and it was just still this thing of like I had to plan my whole day around shitting, or else, and I still kind of do. Like
so my thing is Metamucil. I take that like every day, or I'm trying to take it every day now. I usually take it on days that I see you, just for reasons. But like I try to take it every single day now, or I'm trying to, because it just regulates me.
Yeah,
everything feels fine, and I'm not like a bad pooper. Like I have fine poops every single day, and I usually poop several times a day, and they're usually pretty good. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, something about this time. And it wasn't poop when I got into the restroom. Like I didn't have to shit, but it was after we had sex. And you want to know what it was?
I think they all know what it was.
It was cum farts. Yeah. It was just gas built up in my stomach, but paired with semen. I really pray that my parents never listen to this podcast.
Yeah, I don't think they will. I think my parents probably. I think they probably, my dad, he goes through all my stuff on YouTube, and I think that he probably started one of these and was like, nope,
this is not for me.
Nope.
Yeah, and that happened several times that evening. I think you remember me going back to the porta potty and just having more horrendous cum farts.
You told me what it was, so yeah. We're pretty open about these things.
Of course. We have to be.
So I was talking about verbose black ladies. You said that you were accidentally racist recently.
Fucking hell, dude. I feel so bad. It like really has been weighing on me the last few days, or actually the last week, 2 weeks. So in class, in one of my fashion classes, excuse me, I have to burp. In my fashion class, or one of my fashion classes, we have this foreign student who is from China. And we were giving presentations on... Oh, thank you, PETA, for the nice delivery of slobber to my knee. We were giving presentations on our 7-piece working wardrobe, which is what that thing I styled you for 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And so I presented mine, but during the thing, we were critiquing other students, and we had to write the name of the student on our critiques, like on our papers. And no one in the class knew her name. Just because, like, she doesn't really talk. She doesn't talk too much, but she's very sweet. I've spoken to her, and she's a great student.
Is her name, like, really foreign?
No.
Oh, no.
But there's the catch. So, she is from China. She did her presentation. We're all writing down our critiques, but I look around and I'm like, does anybody know her name? No one does.
Yeah.
And I'm panicking. I'm like sweating because I hate this kind of thing. I hate this like confrontation or whatever. So I turn around when she's done with her presentation because she sits behind me and I'm like, hey, how do you spell your name? And she says Reia. And I'm like, okay, Rhea. Great name. I write Rhea on the paper. A week later, the fashion show happens and we're all wearing name tags. Her name tag says Leia. Leia.
Oh, no.
And my heart sank. It dropped to the pit of my stomach. I was so embarrassed that I had written down Reia because of her accent that she had when she was spelling it for me. And I still haven't confronted the problem. And on Monday we got back our critiques. And the entire time I was just thinking like, I feel so bad for this girl because nobody knew how to spell her name. And everybody around me was like, oh, Reia. Okay, great. So we all wrote it. I wasn't the only one who wrote Rhea when her name was Leia. And like, if she ever listens to this, which I doubt she ever will, but like, if you're listening, Leia, I'm so sorry. And I didn't mean to be accidentally offensive in any way by misspelling your name.
It's just it's your inner white privilege that made you assume that you couldn't that made you assume that you shouldn't have to listen for an accent.
Okay. Listen. I know that would have been more racist though. Listen, so like she had to log into her Google or her Gmail account in order to pull up her presentation, and her Gmail is spelt with an R. It's like RY something. So I was like, okay, so if it's RY something, then her name must start with an R. It wasn't the case. But you understand where I would have gone wrong, right?
Of course, I would have made the same mistake.
Like, I'm not crazy. I'm not racist, right? I just feel so bad. And if you're listening, just forgive me, please. When I see you next class, forgive me.
You're going to be on blast at your school now. They're going to all turn on you.
No, I think my honesty is just going to absolve me of all consequences.
That's what I'm hoping too on this podcast, but I'm not so sure about that. It was pretty interesting when I went to your fashion show. A bunch of your classmates said they listened to this, and this is like a college campus, and I'm like, oh my god,
I am horrified. I'm humiliated that anyone from any of my classes is listening to this.
It's weird. It was weird to meet people like in real time that are. I didn't even really know what to say. It's probably like one of the few times you see me sheepish. I'm like,
gosh.
oh god, oh no.
It was just, yeah. It's just horrific to think about.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, well, we'll move on. There's a bit that I put into our notes, and I want to talk about gay Brett Kavanaugh.
You just bring up the bit. There's not even like a lead in.
No, it's our new bit. It's gay Brett Kavanaugh.
We texted about it a little bit, right?
Yeah. How did it go?
It was like exchanging skiing for like brunch. Sundays are my brunch day.
Well, you look at my calendar. I like dicks. I still like dicks. I think that I was thinking about him because that Christine Blasey Ford woman just like disappeared. She's gone. Yeah,
which I'm thankful for. I don't think
I am too.
She didn't want the spotlight, and I'm glad she didn't take it. Hey,
I think she wanted it, but she was not maybe being completely honest. It was pretty funny because they did like a time the most influential people, and Kamala Harris wrote about her because she was in there, of course. And Kamala Harris is just like a race towards imagery that is so unpopular even to her constituents. Like, I think most people saw that case and was just like, no matter how much, I met some of my very liberal white women friends were all up in their arms about it. But even then I would like talk to them. I'm like, do you really want to die on this hill? Because nothing's going to happen. And plus it's like, even if it does happen, it sets a really odd precedent for men and what they can and can't do. And also how much power you guys have over us in terms of, you can have a story that has no corroborating evidence and make us lose a job or go to jail or whatever.
Yeah, that's kind of where I stand.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about this, I think, on another one.
We have, yeah.
But it was like I thought it would be so fucking funny if like in the heat of the moment he's like so worked up, he's just like, I'm gay, all right. Like
I would never let her suck my dick.
I already Squee and I were deep throating the whole time. She was watching and flicking her bean.
Skiing with Richard means doing coke off of a guy's dick.
And then sucking him to completion. I still like dicks. I love them. In and around my mouth. All the time.
It just makes him and, what's his name? Lindsey Graham.
Miss Lindsey Graham.
They were definitely
case
fucking.
has just gotten me so worked up. He's become like a different person. It's so weird. He was just such like a. I think honestly, it took John McCain dying for him to just become like Alpha Lindsay. I don't know what the hell happened.
Weird.
And I thought what was so funny too was like, I think Republicans just all fucking know he's gay and don't really care. But then it was so funny to watch like when he got all spicy during the Kavanaugh trial, watching all the Democrats and like BuzzFeed writers talk about how he's this closeted homosexual and make fun of it, even though it's so the thing that they've been preaching that you shouldn't do, which you shouldn't obviously you shouldn't out people who aren't out. And I don't think that Lindsey Graham's ever taken any. At least I don't remember him taking any hard stance on gay issues. I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
They probably voted on some pretty egregious shit, but he was not like a Rick Santorum or anything like that, or he was just kind of a whatever. But and I think that he's never been married, doesn't have children, so
he's
gay.
He's fucking he's fucking dudes.
Yeah,
no, he's getting fucked by dudes.
Yeah,
I think he and I sort of share like a bottom wavelength.
Yeah. You were kind of you're getting what he's putting down.
Yeah, we're both getting what other men are putting down.
Yeah, which is laying
meat.
Mm-hmm. Big Italian sausages. Let's see what else. What else would gay Brett Kavanaugh say?
Instead of beers, it would be mimosas.
Mimosas. It was mimosas and Molly.
Do gays do a lot of Molly?
Fuck yeah, they do. Yeah,
I've never done it, so I don't.
I think that it's one of those things like if you were hanging out in like, because all your friends are pretty Christian, but I think if you were hanging out with like the center, a bunch of gays, like all the typical kind of twinks you see in West Hollywood, they're just on drugs and fucking all the time. That's all they do.
Dude, the dream.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I mean, like a dream, yeah. But none of them like have they're 30. None of them have any long-term relationships. Oof. Which you're actually writing a speech about that right now. Were you able to incorporate that in? Because Sean's writing a speech about PrEP and how we see it as like a life-saving, amazing drug that prevents AIDS, but at the same time,
I had to write a 9-minute speech on a topic of my choosing and talk about the negative implications of it. So I wrote a speech on prep, but I tried to include a little bit about relationships towards the end. I just said, like, listen, if you're I don't know, if you're that kind of person, seek out lasting and meaningful relationships. If you're not, that's okay. Just use PrEP as a second measure to prevent HIV.
Right.
Use condoms and be on PrEP.
Well, because it's so interesting, because I remember, so it's so crazy. Like before I met you, you kind of try all the apps out. So you're on Grindr, and Grindr's about what you expect. It's just a total cesspool of nightmares.
Right. I was on it for 15 minutes.
There's no boundaries. There's no courtship. It just is like, here's my asshole. Fuck it. And that's great if you're that kind of person. I mean, I like rock and roll, but I'm not really. And so I would court or like try to court people or propose dates on there. Then I would just get blocked because
Grindr's not the place.
Yeah, but unfortunately, a lot of people who are hot are on there, but they just are so crazy and horny that like if you can't give them that attention, then they don't want anything to do with you. But the problem is that so they all post it like, oh, I'm on PrEP, let's bareback, and it's like, well, yeah, but I could have HPV or herpes or whatever else, and you're not concerned with any of that. And in fact, like they had billboards in LA because there was this antibiotic resistant syphilis that was going around, and it was targeted towards gay men because it was predominantly happening in our community. Mm-hmm. But PrEP, I don't know if they think it prevents it or they don't really care, or I think gay people by virtue are pretty nihilistic. I think that like Scott Thompson from Kids in the Hall was on a podcast called Your Mom's House we both listened to. We mentioned it before, and he was talking about how gay people of his generation, so he would be not a boomer but definitely late Gen X, I would say is what he is, and how he was just talking about how it was so terrifying because everyone got it and everyone would die of it, and you were just watching your friends die around you. They still didn't know exactly how it was transmitted, but it seemed to only be affecting gay people. And he was talking about how it was like it caused like PTSD for him, and like even today he just kind of has a weird relationship with sex because of how it was like you take this thing that you biologically are so driven to do, but it could theoretically kill you. Yeah. It's really a strange thing to think about, and I think that it's really so frustrating how younger gay people act as if now is the worst time ever to be gay.
Dude, I talk about this in my speech. I just say like we've forgotten the fight and the struggle that happened in the 80s and 90s and 2000s because we just weren't there. Yeah. There's a huge gap, and it makes us take advantage of things like PrEP.
We weren't there, and then I also think that like gay men, they really should have like. I think that it's such a tricky thing because I think that like an older gay platonic mentor is so important. But it more often than not turns weird, where it turns into like like this young person is into me or whatever. And I've been fortunate that I have a few that you've met that know that that's not the deal. Mm-hmm. But you do have to endure like some sort of flirting sometimes or some kind of and it's just
how it goes.
It's just
being gay also means being lonely a lot of the time.
Sure.
So having any other gay person around you, you're gonna find some kind of outlet,
Yeah. It's just the difference between men and women. I mean, it's like I think women. That's why women have platonic friends, and men just kind of they have platonic straight friends, obviously, but not. Like gay men, it's like kind of like why they don't have platonic women friends. Mm-hmm. It would strike everyone as weird because, but I mean a lot of people though. I mean you have sex with them and then you're friends afterwards, which that happens often. You just like get that out of the way and then whatever. But typically you don't want to have sex with someone much older. But there's so much value in older gay people because they actually saw some shit. They actually went through a time when they didn't have certain rights that we've kind of grown up having for the most part. I mean, you probably don't really remember like much of the gay marriage debate, I would imagine.
I do.
Yeah.
I mean, it
you would have been like 11.
Came to a head in 2015.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's right.
I was a senior in high school.
Well, because Prop 8 passed in 2008 and then it kind of just went dormant, that debate.
I remember Prop 8 and I wasn't out, so it was hard for me to really participate. Yeah. But I remember it and I remember being hurt. Yeah. Or feeling hurt. I mean,
it was a weird one. I think it was the only one that I actually really showed any activism towards because it was, even this is like sort of when the internet was sort of not as like it is now. I mean, so,
Right.
but we knew even then that the Mormon Church were busing people in. We knew that they were manipulating minority communities that already weren't very strong on the idea, and it was really sad to see Obama win. You know, and this is not about the shitty things he did, but it was exciting in 2008 to see him win. I voted for him, and then to see that not pass in the same thing was. Or at least just to see it pass, rather, was really painful because it was just like, and then primarily not pass because of the black people in California and the Latinos here as well. And I was like, oh, God damn it. But, that's still like a conversation that we've not had about like minority communities not being into it still.
Yeah.
But we're certainly not helping ourselves now because I think that the Republicans have a big push right now for courting minority communities, and they're doing a pretty good job. But at the same token, they are not into. They're pretty conservative socially, even though they've been voting Democrat. So
and maybe that explains a little bit of why we saw that thing with Michael Knowles. He's trying to get minorities on board with him by making it this abomination.
Well, I was talking to my buddy Chimney Portions, and we were talking about how he was saying that like the Christian right. That you and I kind of suffered under is dying. And I think that it is, but I think that there's this new secular right that's growing that are just sort of like, oh, if I want to be a part of this group, I have to believe these ideas. And so I got so angry with Michael Knowles because it was such a manipulation of reality of these situations and obviously trying to push an agenda in like a kind of an anti-gay agenda. But it was so Jared Taylor-esque in the sense that it was very... subversive, very well planned, and it felt like a calculated strike. I mean, I'm all for these people like him and Ben Shapiro criticizing, a bunch of crazy trans activists acting crazy or gay people acting crazy or whatever. Like, I think that's the kind of shit I criticize in our community too. But blatantly lying about certain things,
right?
Like it started to seem like an insidious sort of thing that I have a pretty strong fear about this sort of new right movement, and
it's transparent to people like you and I, but not to the vast majority of people.
I think what's tough, and I
think his viewers, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it's gonna get bad because I think that the loudest voices that we have are representing us in a really poor way, and I think that the right is capitalizing on that right now because we seem to be the most hysterical group in the media. Like we seem to be so fucking triggered about everything, and also so adamant on making demands upon society to just completely change to bend to our will when we're a very small part of the global population. I would actually argue we're the ultimate minority in terms there are probably less of us than any other group on the planet.
Less of
gay people.
Oh.
Like than any other group. I mean, I was thinking about that the other day.
We live in such a concentrated area; it's hard to believe. But
globally, think about it.
Yes.
I think that there's just we're more of like an anomaly than any other group, and so that doesn't mean that we suffer the same. It just means we suffer differently. But also too that like that's why you see so many countries in which you can't, primarily Islam-dominated countries, but you can't be this at all. You have to,
and yet there's so much gay sex there. Like Scott Thompson was saying, there's so much gay sex and so much gay porn.
Well, I think a lot of it is what he was talking about, how it's like the more repressed places you see the filthier kind of stuff. And, I think that that's very similar as why like in those cultures and in like in India and things like that where sex is sort of repressed or arranged marriages happen. The men are so fucking aggressive now that they have the internet because they've not really been socialized into this society.
Send bobs.
Yeah. What is it like? Something bitch lasagna.
Show me your vagina.
Yeah, show me your vagine. But yeah, I'm really dubious of this new right movement, especially the people like there are people on the like I think Ben Shapiro, for example, is a total. I think he's funded by Raytheon or some pro-war thing.
There's something,
and we'll talk more about that here a little bit later. But at the same time, like everything he's ever said about gay people, he did a Joe Rogan podcast recently. I think we kind of mentioned, but has been fair. It's like in terms of like the cultural war of religions, like I think that I'm totally fine with Jews because they really don't like it, but they seem to just not try to create any legislation that fucks
Yeah.
with us. They're just sort of out of that argument. And, you know, like, it's very much, they seem to represent the true ideal form of religion, which is hate the sin, not the sinner kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
and I'm fine with that. If that's as good as you can do, then we're probably not going to be friends, but I don't have a problem with your opinion. That's fine. I don't really believe in your hell, so I'm not really concerned about going there, or your heaven, and so it's not really,
Yeah.
you know, peace to you. Like, believe in what you want to believe. Just don't kill me, which is not true of other religions. So, but I'm getting concerned, especially because I don't know if shootings have been just skyrocketing or what's going on, but there have been so many in the last. Have you caught any of that in the news?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, there's another anti-Semitic one. Not a Trump guy. He called Trump a bunch of expletives and about Jews and Jew loving whatever. So that wasn't what his deal was. There was some kid in Charlotte, North Carolina, who shot that one up. And there was another thing in Long Beach that happened. No one died in that one. But there's something weird going on right now, and I don't know if it is. I don't really know who's responsible for escalating these tensions that are making these young people so angry. But it really blew my mind to read the kid's manifesto in San Diego, because he was 9 fucking teen and already thinking like that. And if you read it, he's so angry and so misguided. And I'm just like, well, I mean, my guess was already there. So I texted you, is probably no dad, probably has been on Adderall since he was 11 years old, probably on some antidepressant now. And it probably made his thoughts crazy because he had no guidance, no strong male role models. So he found them online in some crazy, pro-Nazi community. And you feel like the only thing that you can do to be heard is to do something like this. And I think what's so tough about this debate is it always goes to guns. But I really am more curious as to why are young men so angry right now. And I think I know why, which is that we are ignored. No one cares if we're raped. No one cares about child molestation if it's boys. No one seems to care if we kill ourselves, which we kill ourselves way more than anybody else. No one cares that we die in workplace accidents more than anybody else. No one really cares about our cancers that are specific to us. It's just like we're living. I think we're effectively living in a matriarchy now. And no one wants to admit it. Like, women are running everything now. They're running the narrative. They're running.
I think socially, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that.
But not necessarily politically or in legislature. I think socially is a huge, huge aspect. But yeah, I don't think we're totally there.
I think though, because of the advent of the internet, like the media has more, and I mean YouTube, I mean BuzzFeed, I mean whatever else, has more influence than politics at this point. I think that Trump has made politics like a TV show, which everyone tunes into, which has been interesting. But no one really paid attention when it was Obama. And something like Comedy Central was more the dominant narrative or whatever else what people were tuning into. And I think that now that every show has to... It reminds me so much of what Tipper Gore, Al Gore's wife, was doing in the 90s, where she was talking about how offensive rap music was and how offensive Dead Kennedys were, and basically got them to stop performing. It's very similar to that now, where it's like those women were in control of what we could see and what we couldn't see, and it was about religion. And then now it's about who might get offended and whose feelings might get hurt. And now we're having these really dishonest conversations that get us nowhere. And the only conversation that can be had loudly is how terrible men and boys are. And I think that we need to be paying attention to young men who are alienated because we by nature have testosterone, which can make us violent and angry. And I think that we need to be listened to right now. And all they want to do is shut us up by saying we're mansplaining or manspreading, or you take up so much space, so much of this female space, and your whiteness it's like, it's all this like negative shit about white men in particular. And then we're somehow, and then they find Twitter to communicate, even if it's bad ideas. We make it so we ban them from that, so they can't be on that. They can't be on any form of social media, so they end up getting the darkest parts of the internet, where their ideas get validated that are bad. No, there's no counterbalance to these ideas. And then that's why every one of these shooters are, I think, white young men. But it's about guns, right? It's guns that are doing it. It's guns that are making them shoot things. Of course. Nothing?
I'm just looking at the time.
No.
No, I think you have a really great point there.
Do you really? Or you just...
No, I honestly, I do. But I don't have much else to add.
I find it odd that we have no curiosity as to why this is happening.
Exactly. Me too. And it's concerning because it's becoming more and more obvious every time a new white male shooter comes about, which is every single day at this point.
I think anybody that writes a manifesto is somebody who's not being listened to. Or doesn't feel like they're being listened to.
Yep.
And I think that all this censorship is making it worse. And I think Twitter should be allowed to have bad ideas. You should be able to drop the N-word. You should. And that person should be shamed for it.
Right.
But they shouldn't be deleted from the platform. And because I think it just is going to make them worse. Because then it validates their sort of conspiracy about who's controlling things.
It entraps them in their own bubble. They seek out other outlets that are like them rather than Twitter.
Yeah.
So they just become further entrenched in their anger, their hate.
Yep. But anyway, so speaking of narratives in the news, I wanted to talk about Venezuela a little bit.
Yeah.
So what do you think's going on there, Sean?
Well, we're definitely involved. We definitely have our sticky little fingers in the mix. Because we have interest in Venezuela. All of that fucking oil. So does Russia. What? I don't understand why people are trying to deny the fact that we're involved. It's obvious to me that we are.
Yeah.
Anyways, if people don't know about what's going on, there's basically
there's a coup going on right now. Things haven't been great under Maduro. A lot of people blame it on socialism.
Sean Hannity.
I think that's an easy excuse. I think it's a lot of different things. I think it's a lot of corruption. I think it's a lot of promises probably made by foreign governments that have control over them that probably didn't get met. It's probably sanctions that we've been doing. It's a lot of reasons. I think socialism is probably 45% of the problem. And that's not denouncing socialist ideas. I don't have problems with some ideas. I don't really want America to be a socialist country, but we have socialist programs that I think are largely successful and good for mankind. So, baby with the bathwater, right? So, one of the problems, though, is that... so, bear with me if anybody knows this better than I do, but the best theory that I've seen passed around is this idea of the Monroe Doctrine, which is an idea that dates back to the early 19th century, and it has evolved a lot over time depending on which president decided to use it. But originally it was about the United States trying to prevent British colonialism. And essentially what it has morphed into over time is that we should do everything to protect everything in our hemisphere, right? And I think that the way that America sees that now, the United States, I mean, is by us controlling the whole hemisphere. And I think that but the only way for us to do that is to tap into a severely oil-rich country and control it. And I think that's what we're doing right now.
Yep.
Is attempting for that to happen. The bright side of that would be if this never seems to ever work out in our favor. We always fuck up places more than they were before we went in.
Several examples of that.
Yep. But if it did end up going well, sorry, and then I mean this is like total fantasy land, and this would work out this way. But then we are able to stabilize the population there, actually distribute things that are supposed to be distributed the way they're supposed to, bring in some capitalism so people kind of have some incentive to work and actually can find jobs, stimulate that economy somehow. But the problem is that there's so much propaganda. I feel like there's nothing really on either side of the argument that sounds 100% honest to me at this point. All I know is that I saw footage yesterday of Maduro's tanks running over innocent protesters. So it has escalated to war now, for sure.
I didn't want to see that video clip, but...
It wasn't violent, that's why I sent it to you.
In passing, I saw it on Fox News, because I have family who watches that. But, so I saw it in passing. It's just like, Jesus Christ, dude.
I think that everybody should be dubious of it, and it's really interesting to watch Fox in particular, because Tucker Carlson is completely anti-interventionalist, and he's the only one on the network that is kind of skeptical of what we're doing over there.
Everybody else is like,
totally on
see,
board.
this is socialism at work.
Right,
and it drives me crazy.
Yeah, we expect that from Sean Hannity and from Laura Ingraham and all the other just sort of dipshits on that network. But the one that has surprised me a little bit is Ben Shapiro, and he's so aggressive about going to war that I'm starting to wonder, and this is part of a larger thing that Chimney Portions and I talked about again too. He must be funded by Raytheon or
something like that.
But I also was talking about this kind of larger conspiracy theory, which is that I think that, so we all know that George Soros donates a bunch of money to leftist organizations like Black Lives Matter and any kind of leftist disruptor he will donate money to. I'm starting to think that there is a benefactor on the right who we know isn't the Koch brothers, who were like the typical one that would donate in the 90s and the 2000s to Republican groups, because they said they're basically out on Trump. They're like, we don't want anything to do with this. But I think there's some really, really rich Republican billionaire who is giving money to more organic forces, meaning the Daily Wire, Candace Owens, PragerU, all these different like groups, because they all used to kind of have a nuance. Like they all started on YouTube organically. It was kind of during the Gamergate sort of era, where they would criticize SJWs, which is like kind of when I was like seeing this problem arising amongst people where they weren't able to have honest discourse. But then all of a sudden, they all became religious, and they all became very family oriented, and they all became about wars and how wars are positive.
Yeah,
and they all started to slowly turn into boomer neocons, even though they're kind of millennials and Gen X people on the right. And then I'm like, where's the money?
Right.
There's something going on here. None of them curse anymore. They're all very, very clean. God. It's really weird. Something's going on the right. And so my point of even bringing this up is, I think anybody who listens to this and cares what we have to talk about, you know how skeptical we are of the left, but I am very, very skeptical of this new organic young right.
It's scary. Now that you talk about it that way, that there was that shift, even in just the cursing, not saying fuck. It's like there's something happening. Yeah. There's definitely something going on. It's fucking scary, dude.
And it's interesting to me because I was thinking about it. So let's say that this podcast did anything, right? I would not rely on ad revenue.
Right.
I also wouldn't, if we just continue to do this weekly, I wouldn't rely on us not having to have other jobs. I would make a Patreon or something to have people pay for it that way, so then we could still say fuck and talk about whatever we want to talk about.
Right.
There's not anything that would interest me. There's no amount of money really that could interest me in if this is already starting to kind of get like organically built. There's no amount of money that could interest me to make me say things differently than I say them now. Or not saying fuck or not cursing. And there's no amount of money, because then it's like, what's the point of building this up if you're misinforming people who are already so basic and misinformed? And I think that the kind of centrist opinion is so needed at this point,
right?
Which is kind of where we both sit, especially concerning things like this. I think most people have no idea what the fuck is going on in Venezuela. Like, I have tried so hard to figure it out, and it's impossible. Everything is propaganda, and I think it's because the news there is so tightly controlled that he's not letting anything get out that is honest.
Right.
But I think the truth is just somewhere in the middle. Like, we are supplanting him with a CIA staged coup, and he is a piece of shit. Yep. I think it's just totally both things. And I think that also this is us flexing on Russia. I think this is us. It's kind of like we're back in the fucking Cold War again. I mean, it's really interesting. Like Cuba's pissed at us right now too.
Jesus, dude.
Over this. So.
Well, yeah, Cuba wants in.
Oh yeah, well they're already in. They already work with Venezuela, because they work with Russia. So yeah, it's really bad, and it's tough. It's tough too, because you turn on any media outlet and Fox News is talking about it, but for the wrong reasons. Because they want to use it as an angle for their guy to win.
CNN isn't talking about
at all. They're still talking about the Mueller report because they have brain damage. I don't understand what left is there. Like,
so fucking funny.
It is so. So was it just CNN's ratings that dropped 46%?
I think it was. I think that's what I heard on my passing by of Fox.
You know what's really interesting though? So I'm very curious to see what happens because Trump keeps blocking it, but there's CNN and AT&T is buying Time Warner.
I think your dad was talking about
He was,
this.
because my dad like invests in these kinds. He's invested in it. But so I think it's so odd that a telecom company is buying media companies. So then they would control Cartoon Network, CNN, a handful of other shit. I mean, Time Warner's huge, HBO, and it's what's pretty interesting too is like then you think about who's on. So like John Oliver is on HBO, and then I've been kind of watching what he's been covering, and it's like it seems very all in the interest of this larger kind of conglomerate that's going to be built.
Yeah.
And then Disney is buying Fox, although they're not taking over Fox News. So that'll be like a separate entity, but I wonder for how long. Because we all know that like all of this shit with YouTube and demonetization and is about media companies scrambling to not lose their control. And they didn't, kind of like the music industry, they didn't pay attention early enough. They didn't see the writing on the wall. Didn't take it seriously. And I think that, again, like the Gamergate era, like this anti-SJW thing, YouTubers started to control the narrative.
Yeah.
And they don't control it anymore. And they can't stop it. And so, like, that's kind of like why they call PewDiePie a Nazi and start to pull out of context clips, because he is way more powerful than all of those networks combined.
Right, dude. He gets millions of views.
And he did it organically.
Yes.
With no money.
Yep.
But it's pretty interesting to watch them sort of scramble, because I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm also worried about what they're going to do, like out of desperation. Yeah. But it's amazing to me that CNN has not been trying harder. Like they're still doubling down on the same horseshit. They're still plugging Joe Biden. Like they are not listening to their base. And you don't have to go extreme left. You don't have to fucking. You know what's been really weird is this Pete Buttigieg thing and how they're playing it off like it's organic that he's become popular, but like they've been sucking his dick so much. It's been so weird. He has no policy positions, none.
I went to his website. There's nothing.
There's nothing there. It's like Beto. Like literally, there's nothing on there, and he's given some positions, but it's all very vague and like sort of nothing's there. But then you have someone like Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard, who I wish they were more like better on the Second Amendment, but they both have a fucking plan. They're actually, and I showed you the picture of them touring together. So I think that I think they know they won't win, but they may team up to kind of like make a difference.
Which I fucking hope so.
Or start a new party. Like
fucking yes, dude. Yeah. Get me that new party,
because I think the Democrats don't deserve to win anymore. Right. Because they've lost it. They've lost it. They think that Joe Biden's a viable candidate, and they think he's popular.
He's absolutely not.
They think that AOC matters, or that she is affecting a lot of people because she has a big Instagram following. I don't think most Americans take her seriously.
They don't.
But they're shaping their whole lives around her and what she says or doesn't say. But I think someone like Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang is what a lot of people who voted for Trump because they fucked Bernie wanted, which is like somebody who's just saying something different and has a plan. But I think that the problem with Bernie is that he's become so radical and has placated so many groups. Like when he endorsed Hillary, I lost all respect for him completely. He should have fought. He should have fought even if he thought it would make her lose. He should have fought for the better of the country, and it showed that he had no integrity or backbone. Right. And just should have said she fucking stole it. She's a liar. She's a piece of shit scumbag. This whole party is fucked. Go vote for him. I don't even give a shit. You all deserve this. And drop the mic and go eat some, sauerkraut, some kosher meat. Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, when we had those, when we went to San Francisco and had those what was that sausage thing we went to on the first day?
Oh yeah,
With like the sauerkraut. Was it sauerkraut?
Yeah, so it was a
Reuben.
Reuben
Sauerkraut
sausage.
Reuben or something. Yeah, it was so fucking good.
That was so
dude.
good. I think we were both really hungry too. So
It was delicious.
all the food we ate in San Francisco was so fucking good.
Every meal, so good.
That breakfast we had that one day.
What day was? Oh, when we went to Market Street, and I called it Market Saint or Saint.
Yeah.
Because I ordered the eggs Benedict and it was the Market Street Benedict and I said the Market Saint because it was ST period. Fuck you.
I thought it was Saint.
I thought it was Saint. I'm so mad.
Did you see the poo map from San Francisco?
The poo map?
Yeah,
how many poos are
like they
public or open defecation
because people report on it. Yeah, it's just like literally the whole
dude.
city's just covered in poop.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, we're drinking beer and in honor of
it wasn't obvious.
Gay Brett Kavanaugh.
Oof.
He gets gayer and gayer throughout the whole thing. I swear to God, I didn't do anything to her. It was me and Squee sucking each other's dicks to completion. What was his buddy's name? It was like Squee or
it was something stupid like that. Yeah. Dude, what a timely reference we're making.
I know, right? We're totally on top of it.
How long ago was the Brett Kavanaugh thing? A year?
It feels like 9 years ago because the news moves so goddamn fast.
So quickly.
Yeah. Oh, there's some Bussy Small Dick news.
Really? I haven't kept up.
They said they're gonna fire him from the show, although now they're saying they're not going to. And then he what else happened with it? I think that's it. I think that like officially last thing is they're gonna write him out of the show, write him out of it officially. But we'll see if that ends up happening, or it's gonna be like kind of a fake out where they say they're going to do it and they like bring him back as a guest thing once everybody forgets about this because again the news moves so fast. Mm-hmm. It's amazing to me that any of them are defending him still just for the sake of their own career. He'd be like the fucking plague to me. I would just want to stay the fuck away. Right, yeah,
I wouldn't want to touch him either. He's not my type.
No, I don't think so. I don't think he's quite mine either. Well, why is he not your type, Sean?
I know he's a bottom.
Oh yeah,
and like we just like wouldn't mesh. Like I can usually like be with another person who's like more keen to bottoming than not, and like I'm pretty free moving. Like I'm not like dead set on anything, but like I can just tell. It's not because he's.
Well, you saw those two Nigerians. You know, neither of those brothers are bottoming for him.
Oh no!
That's actually the pretty crazy thing.
So he was getting DP'd
by those two brothers. Although it's pretty interesting. So they're suing his attorney because they're like, hey, we you can push it up pretty hard.
Yeah. Oh, whatever, it's fine.
He was basically saying like, well, because the attorney said that one of them was gay with him. And then they're suing them, saying like, "Hey, we fucking visit family in Nigeria. You can get us killed for saying
being
this."
Gay is like illegal.
Yeah, and
the death penalty.
So it was so fucked up to think about that in hindsight. Jesus. Like because, yeah, I think that like if you still had that connection, you still wanted to go there. I don't think I would be open either. At least like I would be open to the amount that I could be. Certainly not on social media or anything like that. But yeah, she like basically put their lives in jeopardy, and they're like, we can't visit our family anymore because. There an accusation's good enough, and it's fucking crazy. Like, I really hope some justice is served on this one.
Right,
but
that warrants some kind of legal repercussion because that's their life.
Yeah,
that's their personal life that you've ruined.
Yeah,
and they honestly like they aren't the perpetrator in this. He is. Bussy is.
Yeah, it was his master plan.
They
probably needed money.
In a way, they're victims of this. They just accepted money to commit this thing. Because who doesn't fucking want several $1,000s when you're a Nigerian man, like from, like out of the country, where like the money is totally different. I'm sure like our dollar is worth a little bit more than a Nigerian dollar.
Well, $4,000. That's
a fuck ton of money, dude. I would commit a hate crime for $4,000.
I don't think for $4,000.
Listen, you're not a student right now.
I don't think. I don't think I could.
Struggling.
That's the thing. I don't think I could do that. That's so fucking out there. And then plus, like, I don't think any of them probably anticipated that it would blow up like it did.
No way.
Although at the same time, I still believe that Kamala Harris was involved.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think that it was like, I think she went to him and was like, hey, this is like a really good thing you could do to kind of.
That's sinister, dude.
Yeah. Do you remember me talking about that?
Yes.
Yeah. And how, like, I think that, because she
talked about it on a podcast.
She had the anti-lynching bill.
Yep.
And I think it's, and then also like then Michelle Obama's aide steps in to kind of help the whole thing. And her and Kamala are friends. And yeah.
Excuse me. That was a good one. I should have done that right into the mic, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I hope it picked up. Did you hear it?
I heard it definitely.
Okay, good.
So what do you think is going to happen in Venezuela, Sean?
Venezuela, they're going to put a really flamboyant gay guy in the Oval Office.
We have Pete Buttigieg run Venezuela.
Hell yeah, I'd be so up for that. I trust him.
He's not super gay though. He's actually pretty masked.
He is pretty masked. He's like, yeah, I have fucking butt sex. So what?
Yeah, no.
You know?
I just wish he wasn't like I wish he like said something. I feel like I think the number one thing is he has no character. He's just sort of like a blank person.
Yeah.
It's weird. But he's clearly very smart. I think he went to Columbia or Harvard. I don't know, one of the big ones. I don't know. He's a vet.
Yeah, that's always good.
That is, because it does give you some authority when you speak. But so is Tulsi. So anyway, yeah. I think we're definitely fucking around down there. I think that our goal ultimately is to control an oil-rich country in our hemisphere, and then take over Latin America, and then Canada will just reap the benefit.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm a man. My voice beer. Does not crack. I love beer.
I think that's all I got, though.
Oh, yeah, I think me too.
All right. I love you all. Thank you for listening. And
I love you.
I love you.
I love you.
I love you.
Okay.
And we'll hopefully see you, or rather, you'll hear us next week.
Next week.
Goodbye,
see ya.
Bones.
Goodbye.